Hiya folks, Simon here, and welcome back to my Final Fantasy VII New Threat playthrough here on the channel. Now, today, I'm going to be showing you what I consider to be the most difficult boss battle in this mod so far. And for those of you that watch live, I'm sure you'll probably agree with that assessment. I'm just going to give you a brief intro here while I go over the material loadout I've got set up for the party. But, you know, Final Fantasy VII, the original game, in my opinion, it's not really a difficult game, okay? I love it to pieces, you know I do, but it's not that difficult. Most of the bosses are fairly easy, they don't have much HP, they don't do that much damage. Now, there are some exceptions. I remember having a heck of a time back in the day trying to kill the Demon's Gate boss in the Temple of the Ancients and the Lost Number boss, you know, there are some exceptions. But overall, it's not really that tough. And one of the things this mod sets out to do is address that by rebalancing many of the enemies and bosses in the game, not so that it's a hard mode mod, but so that it's, you know, it's just more of a respectable challenge. And it's done a very good job at that. However, I would say that this boss here, the 100 gunner boss we're about to face off against, is a little bit overtuned. It took 4 attempts for me to destroy this thing, and one of the reasons for that is it does have an item you can morph. Now, this item is the 8-inch cannon, and I actually thought the 8-inch cannon was a weapon for Barrett. It is an item that exists in the original game. I should have known better. It's only a consumable one-time use item that you throw in combat. However, I would still encourage you to morph this item, and the reason for that is the text for it. The 8-inch cannon says it does 4,000 points of damage, which is a heck of a lot of damage. Now, in reality, it's not going to do that much because that is reduced by enemies' defense. But even so, it's a lot of damage, and I'm going to recommend that you get it so that when you face off against the Midgar Zolom a little bit later on after Midgar, you'll be able to learn the beta enemy skill. And being able to do 2,000 to 3,000 points of damage in a single hit against that thing is going to help out big time. Now, as in the original game, because of the way the battle is set up here across the 2 different lift platforms, you cannot engage this guy in melee combat. So that means you need to have only ranged attacks. Now, that's absolutely fine. You can use magic attacks and limit break still. But something to bear in mind is that the last boss, or one of the last bosses, the Scorpion boss, actually dropped a melee weapon for Barrett. You're going to want to have that unequipped and make sure that one of his traditional long-range weapons are being used instead. And the reason for that is Barrett is going to be our morpher. And you cannot morph this boss if you're using a melee weapon. Trust me, I tried, it wasn't pretty, it doesn't work. So I've got Barrett equipped with the W machine gun here, along with the morph materia, so that we can get that 8-inch cannon. But of course, morphing comes later, so let's get back to the basics. So this boss is the 100 gunner. He's level 23 and has 3,360 hit points, so quite a big increase over the original game. And you are going to want to bring lots of cure magic because you're going to be spending quite a bit of time healing through his pretty nasty area of effect abilities, which have also been souped up remarkably. Now, as you have noticed, this guy no longer comes alone. In the original game, once you defeated him, you would face off against, I think it was Heligunner. But now Heligunner is just brought into the battle at the same time. And eventually he will also bring in another gunner that you will have to defeat at throughout the course of the fight as well. And incidentally, if you don't kill Heligunner, which is the first ad, quick enough, you will be facing off against all 3 targets at the same time. And you don't want that, okay? The damage is just crazy at that point, and it's just a lot more, to have to heal through and to handle. I don't even think it's possible. But anyway, what you want to do is focus these ads down once they spawn. And I use, just some powerful attacks such as Laser, which is no longer a gravity-based spell, and Lightning Magic. Of course, these being mechanical enemies, Lightning is going to be a big friend for you here, and Limit Breaks as well. Now, one of the upsides of having all this additional damage is that Limit Breaks build up faster. As such, I recommend having Ares for this battle so that you can make use of her Healing Wind Limit Break. And do try and keep everybody topped up above, I'd say about 75-80% health, probably above, 550 to 600 health if you can. And that's because this boss has one heck of a nasty ability that he doesn't tend to cast until a little bit later on in the fight. But fortunately, you do get warning before that attack actually happens. However, going into the fight, I would recommend having Fire Elemental in your armor slot as a linked materia pair. I'm not 100% sure if his ultimate attack is fire-based. It does look it, but I can't confirm that one way or another, so maybe you guys, if you do know, could let me know in the comments below. But that's the combo I used, and it did seem to do something, I think. But there we have the first ad down, so we are now going to begin working on the second. Oh, by the way, something I should mention, hopefully you haven't got into the fight yet before you're watching up until this point. The woman that you can see just before you enter the lift area, she is actually a rest area, so you can use her to purchase items to rest up to full health and also save your game. And as this fight might take you a couple of attempts, I would encourage that you do create a save file there. Now, you can see that we had this warning here about the sensor cannon charging and then sensor cannon charged. That's effectively a 2-turn warning that he's going to unleash his ultimate ability. At this point, make sure you are fully topped up with HP because this thing hurts like heck. Okay, now I'm quite fortunate here. I have Ares with her healing wind limit break. Wave Artillery is the name of the ability itself. And with the protection, it does about 300 points of damage to 350 points of damage. I just encourage you to, you know, defend, have that fire elemental in armor on characters that can, and have magic barrier up if at all possible. One thing I did do in preparation for that ability is have barrier materia linked with all materia so that we could get that on every party member. But I didn't cast it at the start of the fight, it isn't needed, that magic barrier spell. I just cast it once I start seeing that sensor cannon charging. And that should last long enough to get through a few of those, you know, ultimate attacks there. And it's annoying because towards the end of the fight, he does start spamming that ability. Now, you do always get the warning, but it does require a lot of healing still. And that is a little bit more frustrating because of trying to morph this guy. You can't simply end the battle all that quickly. So, you know, once the second ad's down, you do have to keep a real good eye, real close eye on the health of the main boss, because at least one of the failed attempts that I had, I actually successfully killed him instead of morphing him. So yeah, had to reload and try again. In all fairness though, this particular attempt, this fourth attempt, went very smoothly, and I don't think we had any deaths at all. So as long as you do get into a good routine and you have the right setup, then this boss is, I don't want to say he's a cakewalk. You do need to pay attention and stay on top of people's HP levels. But it's not absolutely impossible. So, you know, I really enjoyed this. It was a good challenge. It was a lot of fun. And I don't expect all the bosses going forward to be this difficult. As I say, it's probably slightly overtuned for this stage in the game. But I'm certainly excited to see what else New Threat has in store for us as we continue on with our adventure. Incidentally, the subsequent, and in fact the final boss battles of Midgar, which are against Rufus and Motable respectively, are in my opinion much more simple and, you know, much closer to what one would expect for the tuning of the boss fights at this point in the game. But anyway guys, if you do manage to defeat this guy, especially if you manage to do so first attempt and get the morph, I'd be very interested in hearing how you did so down in the comments below, and what you've been thinking of the mod so far. As I said, I'm just having so much fun with this thing. It's really freshened the game up for me, just in a way I never expected. I thought it would be fun going in, and I've heard, you know, I should say, so many good things about playing with New Threat for many years, and I'm so glad I finally got to it. It's definitely been worthwhile so far. And I know I've done so before, but I do want to give another shout out to Sega Chief. Sega Chief is the developer of this mod, and you know, he's done such a fantastic job. I don't know how the heck he's made something this awesome, but there we have it. If you guys haven't downloaded it yet, then what are you waiting for? You know, you really should. It's so much fun. But there we have it then, guys. That is the fight against the gunner, the 100 gunner, along with his ads. And there's the 8-inch cannon, which will be useful against the upcoming battle with the Midgar Zolom. So thanks for stopping by. I hope you all have a wonderful day today, and I'll see you next time for more New Threat.